All right, we'll begin with Daily Trust newspaper, and yes, today is Monday, the 16th of May, and let's start with the lead story here that talks about the aftermath of a resignation. Jostle begins for vacant ministerial positions, and we have riders that say Buhari's assurance spurs lobby in states. We also have Silva yet to resign as petroleum minister, says aide. President will decide on ministers who made U-turn, says spokesman. And you can find details of that particular story on page 5. Now, we also have more stories. We have, just below that particular story, you'd see a pictorial of deserted streets in Sokoto as residents observed 24-hour curfew yesterday. And we have passengers spend night at airports as fuel shortage bites harder. You can find details of that story on page 26. If you go to the top of the page, you'll find a story on Kano APC crisis that talks about Shekaro set to dump ruling party today. Electoral Act, Buhari AGF head to Supreme Court. Now, on the footnote there, you have blasphemy. Khan asks members to quit NYREC. Calm returns to Sokoto. And Kebbi governorship intrigues as Malami's withdrawal changes equation. And then finally, teenager sets ablaze over motorcycle theft in Edo. Now let's talk about the aftermath of the resignation and how, the writer here says, there's a lot of lobbying in some states already for some of these positions.
Oh, I thought maybe you are also one of those lobbying, but there is no vacancy from your state. Yeah, that's interesting. Politicians are the most optimistic people. They are always optimistic, so especially when there is opportunity like this. And a lot of people are trying to position themselves. A lot of people will be lobbying, as the headline suggests, so that they will get the big job. So
when the time comes, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I think there are about 7 or so states so far that are vacant. I know that there is Plateau, Ondo, Imo, Anambra, and a couple of other states. So it shows, the politicians from these states will definitely, Rivers and all that, will definitely try to see that they get the big job. Some of them, maybe because they have support for they have worked for the ruling party, maybe bringing it to power, or because they are close to some important persons. There are so many ways to the corridors of power.
So what about, the likes of Malami and Ngige, who were aspiring for, presidency positions like presidency and governorship, and decided to, make a U-turn?
Yeah, that's a very interesting U-turn now.
So what does that say about
Yes,
them?
and I think that is why the presidential spokesperson saying president will decide on ministers who made U-turn. Because if you remember, I don't know if you miss it, at the weekend, the Lagos lawyer Femi Falana came out to say that all those who are now making U-turn after tendering their resignation, they have a changed status by the Constitution, so they would have to be reappointed. So that's somehow, for me, some sort of legal knot for us to untie. I don't know how, but as the spokesperson is saying here, it is for the president to look at it and take a decision. But of course, decision cannot go counter to the law. So if the law says, for example, if the resignation have been already tendered, we have to look at what the law says, for example, to follow what exactly should be done.
Okay, now we still have a story talking about the president, saying that the president and the Attorney General of the Federation have headed to the Supreme Court on account of the Electoral Act. It's still an issue.
As you are reading the headlines, I was in my mind saying, could it be the reason why the Attorney General is staying back? Because, he directly and indirectly is the one championing that contentious section of the Electoral Act is removed to ensure that they are allowed to stay longer in office. So it's possible that maybe he's optimistic that the Supreme Court will turn.
And then he'll go back to
and
his
then he will go back to his
gubernatorial
governorship
aspirations.
Yes, but one thing is the primaries will be decided on Friday. I mean Friday, Saturday for the APC governorship, and that means he has only 5 days. And except if the person who is appointed, I mean elected at the Congress, decide to step down for him, for example, so that they replace. But if not, well, that's, politicians, they always have a number of game plans. So we wait to see what will happen.
Okay, so let's talk about, passenger spending nights. We were talking about the fuel situation earlier, and now they're saying passenger spending nights at airports. Like, how does that even happen?
Yeah, in addition,
I thought, something had actually been done about it.
Well, sometimes, anytime there is crisis like this, it takes long to resolve. Just like what happened with the fuel queues in the last, for example, 2 weeks. The NNPC came out to say, oh, it's not because that we don't have fuel, it's because there was a public holiday and there was no loading of the product for some days. And what that shows is that as anytime, it's just like queues or like traffic, once there is any snag, anything that will obstruct the flow, then it will build up. So it's the same thing. This Jet 1, the aviation fuel crisis, is a similar issue because there was scarcity, especially because of the price. The last I heard, it reached 700 naira per liter. So I think they have not been able to resolve it, even though the NNPC has, at a meeting, promised to cut down or to supply the product at 480 per liter for 3 months. So maybe that has not started happening, and that is why what we are witnessing. Because in many places, as if you open, for readers who pick the copy of the paper, they will see there's a picture of stranded passengers, and it shows it's a nationwide problem in which passengers in Lagos, in Kano, and other places are affected, are stranded.
All right, now let's take a look at, some other issues, especially
Well,
here.
I'm very selfish. My story from Kano.
Yeah, I was still going to talk about it. All right, so talk about it. Now, first it was Kwankwaso, and some other people. Now we have Shekaro set to dump, the APC.
Yeah,
what is happening?
The Kano APC crisis is becoming quite interesting, and I think it appears it's like a tsunami has hit the party, the ruling party in Kano.
And it seems they're all moving to the NNPP.
Well, NNPP is now the next party in Kano. You are either in APC or
it's a third force.
It's not only a third force, it's a second force now because what happened, Konkoso and his people have moved out of PDP. They have somehow emptied PDP. And so PDP is now something of a barren
like a
place
shell.
now. It's a shell, that almost nobody is there. Of course, there are people, with all respect to them, including a number of them aspiring for governorship for the ticket of the party. But the vigor is lost to the NNPP.
No, definitely.
And then now with the decision of the Kano State Governor to endorse some candidates for different positions, the aggrieved persons are now also making an exodus out of the party. And that exodus is almost happening every minute, so to say, because so many big fishes have moved. And I think the climax is Shekaro's moving into the NNPP. And there were spirited efforts over the weekend to stop him, especially on Saturday, including a visit by the governor. There were stories saying that a jet was sent from Abuja to pick him and the governor so that there will be a reconciliation meeting in Abuja and all that. And it appears that none of that has yielded any fruit. And as the story is suggesting, or maybe later today, we'll hear about him dumping the party. And that would be interesting because, Shekaro is a founding member of the APC. He left the APC when Kwankwaso joined and moved to the PDP, and
now he has left the PDP.
He left PDP to go back to APC. And he is now leaving the APC to come to NNPP and working together with his arch rival, Rabiu Kwankwaso. So it's, politics, as they say, no permanent friend, no permanent enemy, only permanent interest. And that's what is playing out in Kano.
All right, so let's just touch on this before we move on. Talking about jungle justice, recently we saw what happened in Sokoto, and now we're seeing a teenager being set ablaze over motorcycle theft in Edo State.
Yes. Jungle justice.
I thought there were laws, against such.
Yeah, there are. It's a serious crime because, in everything, the first thing in issue of justice is is actually to confirm the crime. And confirmation of the crime only happen where in the court. So if someone, because someone shouted that he's a thief, and people just gather about, hack him to death and burn him alive. That's really barbaric. That's really shocking and condemnable. And I think, as you said, it is really concern if it is happening here, there, and there again. I mean, there should be mechanisms to confront crimes, to confront wrongdoing, but to just resort to self-help, to jungle justice is really, because the problem of jungle justice is that oftentimes people who are, or persons who are not actually guilty get
being hurt.
Yes, get to die for nothing. So it is really a concern. Look at this teenager, and they say motorcycle. Is motorcycle the same as human life?
Exactly. Humanity before everything is what a lot of people are actually clamoring for. I mean, there are enough, what do you call it? We're like as Nigerians actually going through so much that we need to actually fight against, and not ourselves.
Yeah.
You have the insecurity.
That is true.
Why not put all our energy into fighting insecurity? And we have so much hardship. Let's put in a lot of energy to help each other rather than fighting each other.
That's true. That's true.
All right, with that, we'll move on to more papers.
So we take a look at the Nation newspaper, where the big headline says Atiku, Wike, Saraki, others battle for 3,700 delegates. Oyo, Oshun, Akwa Ibom, Rivers, Kaduna, Bauchi, among those with large number of voters. And they have the breakdown of the figures there, which is quite interesting. And looking at the figures, I'm surprised. Okay, Abia has 116, while Zamfara has 34. Maybe, could it be because maybe Zamfara is not a PDP state? There is not maybe too many elected persons on the PDP platform. Just below that, we have a pictorial saying a major market in Sokoto has come returned to the city yesterday. And, just like the Daily Trust front page, it shows the impact, the devastation, the unintended consequences of violence. People who may not have something to do are caged at home because of the curfew. And this is a very telling picture. It shows an empty market in Sokoto. Just below the pictorial, we have another story saying Buhari Malami asks Supreme Court to void Electoral Act, Section 84, subsection 12. To the right, to the left, another story says resignation directive. Amechi Silva telling others to go today. Presidential advisor joins Jigawa governor's race. Just below that, at the bottom, NDLEA seizes 203,897 tramadol in Abia, Kaduna, Yobe, Kogi rates. On the top of the front page, what Kanu told me about Southeast killings by Soludo. This is a story on page 5. Still on page 5 of the newspaper, It's a story saying nobody has contacted us, says slain Deborah's dad. To the right, SEC limits digital currency, offers to 10 billion. Oshimole, 350 others screen for APC Senate tickets. These are some of the major stories on the front page of The Nation today.
This particular story, I know we've actually talked about it, but talking about Buhari Malami as Supreme Court to void Electoral Act Section 84, subsection 12. Now, a lot of people would actually say that, this is actually happening for a selfish reason because, what if, because, the Attorney General is actually eyeing the governorship, Kebbi governorship position. What if he wasn't? Will they, go all the way to the Supreme Court? Will they do everything it takes to void that particular clause?
Well, there is, I will answer the question indirectly by saying that, yes, there have been calls for the separation of the office of the Attorney General from the office of Minister of Justice. And in fact, I think there were attempts by the National Assembly to do just that, I think twice, including in the current constitutional review process. Because the implication of having the two offices, one person manning the two offices, is this conflict of interest we're talking about. Because Attorney General is supposed to be the country's chief law officer, somebody who guides the entire country, not only the president, about what should be, what is the legal position of things. But the Minister of Justice could be a politician directing affairs of the ministry. And if you have one and the same person doing the same thing, it's always untidy when politician is the one dictating the law. Because as you are suggesting, there are cases or there are implications of conflict of interest, him maybe trying to tweak things to his or her advantage or that of his political party. And so I think that is why it is very noble, the idea of separating the office of the Minister of Justice from that of the Attorney General of the Federation.
Now, I think with that, we would actually, let's talk about Atiku Wike Saraki. That's the lead story. Atiku Wike Saraki and others battle for 3,700 delegates. And you were kind of, alarmed about the figures there.
The differences. But I figured it out. Usually, there is what we call statutory delegates, that is elected persons. So states that have a ruling party, or a member of the party as governor in the state, they tend to have, controlling the state, they tend to have more elected persons because up to councillors, local government chairmen and all that are part of the statutory delegates, state assembly members and all. So it swells the number. Meanwhile, states that are on another platform, you find out that the numbers are limited because they don't have that. So, and this analysis is quite revealing of who will decide the PDP ticket. Well, for example, Benue has 139 delegates. So this 139, if you compare it with, is still much higher than what states like, what so many other states are having, because in the same token, if you look at maybe state you think are big states like state like Yobe, for example, have 71, Zamfara 34, and Ekiti 72, but Ogun 84. But you have states like Enugu, for example, has 143. Akwa Ibom has 179. Oh, that's quite much. And Delta has 155. You see Ebonyi, which is also controlled by the APC, has only 79. So this shows, the dynamics. And I think it is from this that the candidates will have to know where to prioritize, because you can't give the same attention to all the states.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to more papers. We have the Punch newspaper, and the lead story here talks about blasphemy killing. Our children won't attend school again, says Deborah's parents. Can to petition UN, US. And we have writers that say government has not contacted us. I went to fetch the corpse myself, father laments. Northern Can asks parents to stop sending children to Sokoto schools. We also have Nigeria, not an Islamic country. Gumi warns Muslims against killings. All right, we have more stories at the top of the page there. 9 banks' non-performing loan rise hit 814 billion naira, says reports. Nigeria spends 86% of revenue on debt servicing, South Africa 20%. On train abduction, negotiations deadlocked, federal government seeks foreign assistance. No agreement with a federal government, strike not ending soon, says ASU, SANU and NASU. Beside the nameplate, we have gunmen killed 323 security operatives in 2022, says report. And, if you come beside the pictorial there, NDLEA bust drug cartels, fake employment syndicates. Containers clearing costs jumps to 67%, vehicle parts prices soar. We also have Amechi, Talon, others may resign today. More stories. National Assembly transmits amended Electoral Act to Buhari. Lassa fever killed 151 in 17 weeks, says NCDC. Lagos to demolish 6 more buildings, continues crackdown. 4 arrested as Okada riders kill, burn Lagos engineer over 100 naira. And then finally, 73% of workers under contributory pension below 40 years, says Pencom. We'll move on to more papers after this.
Next paper, we look at Vanguard newspaper, where it says 2023 APC governors, senators draw battle line over Lawan. Intrigues heighten as presidential aspirant sponsors 7 co-contestants. Party includes screening of governors, senatorial candidates. Concludes, I beg your pardon. Party concludes screening of governors, senatorial candidates. On top of that page, Deborah, none of my 7 children will go to school again, says mother. Excitement as Emefiele gets Forbes Best Africa Lifetime Achievement Award. Ukraine-Russia war, presidential power initiative faces new hurdle. It's a story on page 35. Below the banner headline is a story about pension, unemployment, pension savings withdrawals reverse 4-year trend. There are bullets, as withdrawals by sacked workers rise 23.7%. NECA TUC react, seek urgent government intervention. Court halts sharing of derivation funds to oil-producing states, story on page 11. Lagos Motor Park crisis, NURTW orders MC Olumo to vacate office complex. Train attack, bandits release pregnant woman. 2023, we want Yoruba referendum, not interim government, says group. By the right side, Oshimole undergoes APC senatorial screening, story on page 35. Hackers can now unlock steel vehicles, NCC warns Nigerians, story on page 10. 2023, Amechi gave us money, helped when quizzed by DSS, El Rufai. These are stories on the front page of today's Vanguard newspaper.
All right, with that, we'll move on to the Guardian newspaper. And we have at the top of the page there, Buhari Malami head to Supreme Court, sue National Assembly over Section 84, subsection 12. And we also have Nigerian Ports Authority, that's NPA, threatens revocation of port concession pacts over decaying infrastructure. Details of that can be found on page 5. Now, Deborah, that's the lead story. Northern governors condemn killing, call for calm. And writers here say Sokoto schools to remain shut. Deborah's parents say, we cannot say anything. We have left all to God. Police deny report identifying suspected killer as foreigner. Ohaneze Ndibo, OPC. Others condemn destruction of Igbo property, charge northern leaders to halt Sokoto mayhem. On blasphemy, withdraw from interreligious council, northern can tell Christian leaders. Tekan demands justice for slain Deborah Samuel. And we also have more stories just below that one. Serap sues Buhari, Malami wants answers over 1.48 trillion naira spent on refineries. We also have hackers can unlock steal your vehicles, NCC warn Nigerians. APC consensus arrangements in Cross River collapses. And on page 44, NMA to brainstorm on tackling health emergencies and others. These are some of the stories on the front page of Guardian newspaper.
Moving on next, we take NewsDirect newspaper, where the major story says APC primary election, EFCC, CCB, APC Presidential National Assembly aspirant. On top of the page, Kaduna State delegates back Amechi. On story on page 23, attack on Abiodun, Onagorua family disowns member. Hackers can unlock steal your vehicles. NCC alerts Nigerians. Story on page 2. Below the page, TCN reconstructs vandalized transmission tower in Uyo. Transmission line to be energized soon. Pantami, a continental change icon. Story on page 21. So these are some of the stories in today's Nigerian News Direct.
Let's take a look at some of the stories on the Abuja Inquirer. And we have stories on open defecation here. FCTA on massive construction of public toilets. No room for excessive levies. FCTA warns schools, PTAs, and details of that on page 6. 31 states have domesticated Child's Right Act, says Talon. We also have on page 15, Buhari should fill positions of resigning ministers without delay. Now, the lead story here talks about 2022 flood outlook. Amak Gwagwalada on red alert as FCTA to demolish more buildings at Trademore Valley Hub estates. We also have insecurity. Arewa Group warns extension of party primaries, and activists such called demands vigilance. And that's according to an activist. And you have a pictorial there of the wife of President Muhammadu Buhari, flanked by the wife of the vice President, Mrs. Dolakbo Shibajo, where the First Lady hosted APC female aspirants to a summit in collaboration with the Office of the APC Women Leader in Abuja. And with that, we'll move on to more papers.
The next paper to look at is Blueprint, where the big headline says MNJTF, that is Multinational Joint Task Force, troops neutralized 300 terrorists in lectured fringes, destroy 4 IEDs, lose 6 soldiers, civilian JTF, foil another attack on 3 Niger LGS, spate of insecurity alarming, said A. Husseini. Abuja Kaduna train attackers release pregnant captive. On top of the page, Deborah, Sokoto suspend school resumption for 1 week. Whoever kills over blasphemy will miss paradise, says Gumi. Remain at home, NYC Direct Corps members. CP Ayoku patrols Kaduna Metropolis. This is a story on page 6 of the paper. Below that, we have a pictorial showing the Vice President, Professor Oyemi Oshibanjo, and Chairman of the APC, Chairman the Progressive Project, Senator Kabiru Gayar on the right, and Chairman APC Jigawa State Chapter, Alaja Aminu Gomel, and others during the arrival of the Vice President in Duse International Airport for the APC stakeholders meeting in Duse. Just below that, NFF appoints Pesero as Super Eagles gaffer. Story on page 31. Just below that, there are some other stories. Hackers can unlock steal your vehicles. NCC alerts Nigerians. Access Bank will support customers' lifestyles with digital tools, says Wigwe. And these and many other stories will be found in today's Blueprint newspaper.
Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. Right here in the studio, we have public affairs analyst Lanre Oluwani joining us for a detailed review of today's front pages. Good morning and welcome to Daybreak on
Good
Trust
morning.
TV.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so let's start with Daily Trust newspaper and the lead story talking about the aftermath of the resignation, and how there's a jostle, a lot of people lobbying for Buhari's assurance, especially when it comes to these ministerial positions, and jostle has actually begun for vacant ministerial positions. What are your thoughts on that?
Thank you very much. It's a normal thing in politics. Lobby is part of the game. But what's important most is that at this time, Mr. President must look at the competency, because he only have only short period of time to go, less than a year, if I'm correct. Mm-hmm. So if he's bringing new hands to join in the remaining part of the administration, you should look at their track record, look at how competent they are, and see how you can fix them into a right place. Not just about just lobbying alone. Everybody can lobby.
Apart from the lobbying to replace the ministers, on Friday the president had a valedictory meeting with 10 of them, and then all of a sudden 2 have made a U-turn. To say that they are no longer interested in the elective offices. What do you make of that U-turn particular action?
The issue there is that we're in a country whereby anybody can just feel like, let me do this. But they forgot that there is a law in place. And that's what President Buhari showed to them. The guys come. You want to be president? No problem. I'm not going to stop you, but you have to resign according to the Electoral Act as amended. Before you go to primary election, you have to resign from the office you occupy. So they don't know that President Muhammadu Buhari will show up that way.
So he ambushed them?
Exactly. So majority, they have been, they went to court, I think in Abia, and appeals rule over that judgment in Abia. And so an appeal outcome does not go in their favor. Mm-hmm. So they're like, and President Buhari had to call an immediate fake meeting. Say, come, you guys, if you are contesting, I don't stop you, but be rest assured that immediately you leave, I'm replacing you.
That's quite
so not like you go and face the primary and you expect me to wait for you to return back. So that is already put them in a tight corner. So I think it's a beauty of democracy.
All right, you talked about the Electoral Act, and right now we're seeing that the President and, the Attorney General of the Federation are seeking, the Supreme Court, to void that particular clause, the controversial clause, that's the clause 84, subsection 12. What do you think about that?
Now, until we get there, when the matter is in court, you don't talk much on it. So that will not preempt the outcome of the court.
Okay, but what are
Supreme Court is the highest court in the land, no doubt about it. But my own stand on it is that judiciary is a separate arm of government. Legislative is also a separate arm of government. So the duty of legislative arm of government is to make a law, which they have done. And President Buhari have signed it into law. So going to court, another arm of government, to challenge the stand of that clause. Let's see how it goes. I believe this is the first time we are experiencing it, when a legislative will make a law finish, and they will take it before it ends, they take it to the...
No, Mr. Larry, but that is the function of the courts to interpret the laws.
Yeah.
And I think it's not out of place. But the issue now is that how does this affect, overall electoral process? Because there has been this back and forth that this clause is actually very important, according to some people, that it will deprive people of taking advantage of public office for their own personal political gain. But some people say that, as maybe the Attorney General and co, think that this is disenfranchising of the fundamental rights of every Nigerian to be part of a political process. How do you reconcile these two?
You know, since the case is already in court, like I said before, it takes a prerogative of the Supreme Justice to look at it, that how can we balance it. On the other hand, people were looking at abuse of power.
Yes.
You're in power, you're in office, and because you're in office and you are contesting for another office, there is tendency for you to use that office to achieve some things against your opponent. Yeah. It's a good way to go. But at the same time, are they depriving them of their right to vote or to be voted for? No, not absolutely. They don't tell you that you should not vote. They don't tell you that you should not be voted for. What they just want from you is the office you are occupying. Can you please step down?
Okay, now still talking in line with that, let's have your opinion, because right now, the CBN governor, has actually gone to court, and, right now a lot of people are saying that he's now a certified politician. Now, when you're talking about some people, maybe trampling on the rights of these politicians, and then, them being, what you just said, where do we stand when it comes to the CBN governor acting in the capacity of the CBN governor and also a politician?
We find ourselves in a situation whereby someone, like I said before, someone will just wake up and just believe that, let me try this. Let me give it a try. Maybe we go. That's how they are doing it. That's the truth. That's the truth. In a decent society, someone of that capacity, that is a CBN governor, is not supposed to be partisan. That's number one. You are appointed by Mr. President, but just like we just, maybe from tomorrow, just hear someone like Yakub Mahmoud, the INEC chairman, is contesting for president. How will you feel? So it's totally uncalled for. You are the one in charge of the financing, even the material of the INEC. You are the one in so you are not the APC CBN governor. Neither you are a PDP CBN governor. You are a governor, Central Bank of Nigeria. So if you want to contest, it's not something we're supposed to debate. Just resign voluntarily and go and pick the party membership of any party you wish, and you go. Nobody will fight you for that. But you can't be in the same office and you want to use our money. Because how much is your salary in the first place? This is a thing that we need to verify.
Well, the central bank governor will tell you that he's been in the banking industry for over 30 years. So maybe we shouldn't go into that. Okay. Now, away from politics, passengers spend night at airports as fuel shortage bites harder. It's one story also on the front page of today's Daily Trust. We are having the fuel queues for people, for motorists. And then even the aviation fuel is having, it's also another crisis. What is the implication of all this, or what does this even mean for Nigeria?
One of our major challenges in this country is because we don't have our own refineries. And the one we have are not even performing up to even 60% performance. So we're all aware that we are exporting crude oil and we are importing PMS, refined crude oil. So what do you expect? Marketers have their own area of story. NNPC too are talking about their own, and I'm aware that they have a general meeting with the Speaker of the House of Representatives. CBN governor was there, the marketers were there, and even the airline people. So they were trying to see how to find a lasting solution to it. The truth of the matter is, let us look for a way to go into these modular refineries. That's just the truth of the matter. I always tell people, I say, if we are a serious country, it only takes an administration 4 years to focus on one modular refinery. Another administration come, another one modular refinery. Another administration come, because we all knew that that is the only product that our economy lies on. And that is the only product. If it goes up, it affects everything in this country. So why are we joking with it?
Well, over the years, there's been a lot of clamor for, revamping our, refineries, and some monies have actually been dispersed into doing that. And right now, we've seen that Serap is suing the president and Malemi, and they want answers over the 1.48 trillion naira spent on the refineries.
To me, it's just a waste. That's the truth. It's a waste of money. It's a waste of resources. You have been repairing the refinery since how many years? And you keep pumping money there, and it's not giving you a maximum result. So why can't you, if there is a way to abandon it totally, and look for a way to build a new refinery that will not even cost up to the one we have? So it's just a waste. It's the right thing to do by Sarah. So we need to ask questions. That is why we are citizens.
So still on the front page of the Punch newspaper, there's this story saying 9 banks, the non-performing loans that is belonging to 9 banks has hit 814 billion naira, according to reports. And I know that this is a current issue that has led to the banking consolidation, that has led to the creation of AMCON. Why do we still having this phenomenon of non-performing loans, and that is this huge amount of money?
In a society that celebrates big manism, we continue having this reoccurrence problem. Don't forget, we have this issue during the time of the former CBN governor, Lamido Sanusi, with Oceanic Bank and with Intercontinental and all of them. They realize that a lot of big men are borrowing money, they don't even pay interest. But you call, and you begin to pursue a middleman. Let me call it a middleman, let me say a poor man. So, and you are robbing the middleman to satisfy the big man. So how are we going to grow? And if anything happened to these banks today, is the middleman, me and you, that we have our salary being paid to those banks that will pay the brunt, that will bear the brunt. So it is high time. These are things that the governor of CBN is supposed to look into as a matter of urgency. That's the truth. As a matter of urgency. So we knew what happened to many banks in this country. And I knew about a family relative. As a result of that, the woman could not survive. So why are we like this? Why are we like celebrating big manism at the detriment of the less privileged people, or people that they are not in opportunity to have those access? So until we bring those gaps to a minimal level, I'm not saying there is not going to be big men, I'm not saying there is not going to be high people, but there must be a gap that is so minimal that you can hardly differentiate, and everybody will be served accordingly.
Okay, now still on Punch newspaper, we're seeing reports that some telecom operators, talking about MTN and Airtel, are raking in 615 billion naira from calls and data in 3 months, and this is despite the threats of an over 40% hike in these services.
Yeah, quite interesting. I was on this program last week, I think about the same time, talking about these same issues, and I let the interviewer know that these guys are making a lot of money, even the time passed. So they don't have any moral right to just come overnight to come and increase the tariff to 40% increase. Yeah. Now, I'm happy to hear the same story as of this morning too, that this amount of money they have realized within 3 months. Mm-hmm. So why are they threatening us for 40%? Mm-hmm. So I've learned my thoughts on that last week, and I believe they have listened to that, and I've seen it in the environment now, the name. I've come in closer to the neighborhood to register people so that they can be able to unblock their line. So I'm just being proof.
But does that show that Nigerians really have money, that we are spending this huge amount of money in making phone calls in just 3 months? This is huge amount.
Yes, you know, telecommunication is one of the richest industry that even Nigeria as a country did not pay attention to. That's the truth. That's why I keep laughing. We have many ways to make money. You know, we have our own tour. All of a sudden, it died down. So these are things that Nigeria as a country supposed to find a way of investing into. Make it like kind of a PPP arrangement. And they can easily generate money into the pocket of the federal government. So the Nigerians are making calls. Not only in Nigeria alone. Calls is something that has become something that is indispensable, whether you like it or not. People just want to make calls. People need to communicate. People need to check news. People need to do something online. Everybody is online now.
All right, let's move on to education. Now, last week we heard that ASU might soon call off strike, and today we're hearing that there's been no agreement with the federal government and, ASU, and the strike is not ending soon. And this is according to ASU, SANU, and NASU. Now, what impact do you think this has on our education system?
Serious impact. Any society that does not follow education is already calling for a doom. And that is a result of what we are experiencing in the northern part of Nigeria. You need to educate the people. That is the reason why, under the United Nations, the right charter is your education must be free from primary school to the secondary school level, at least in any standard society. Now, this is our university level. And if you cannot privatize all these institutions in a way that they can have university autonomy, so why can't you make sure that things work well and try and solve this problem? We are having ASU strike on 1 year, 1.5, 6 months. It's not today. Right from when me and you were in university. It's not in news any longer. So to now make it worse, the private university are doing well. So all the rich people take their children to the private university. The only people you find in the public university now are the less privileged people. So government is not looking into their direction because they are not the children of the high and mighty. It's a worse scenario. It doesn't do us any favor because the more they do this, the more our ranking get to low. We get low ranking at the international level.
Because according to reports, it's they've actually had 18 strikes in 23 years.
18 strikes, 23 years. How many strikes do we have in Ghana? I'm not talking about South Africa. I'm not talking about Kenya. I'm talking about Ghana here. And we call ourselves giant of Africa. And we don't value education. we cannot fund our educational system. So it is that time we start deceiving ourselves. If you want these people to be on autonomy, find arrangement for them to be on autonomy. Let private industry, let them bring partnership. A company like Globacom can say, me, I want to take Abu, Amadou Bello University,
ABU.
Zaria. Let's come into partnership with them. And Globacom will pump in money there. Another company, MTN, can say, I will take away you. So before you know it, you will see fibrancy.
Well, that's something that is naughty because I know that ASU is against privatizing education. But Larry, there is this story still on the Punch on page 37 saying containers clearing cost jumps by 67%. Vehicle parts prices soar. And for a country, not only about vehicle parts, for a country depending largely on imported goods, what does this show? 67% increase in prices of clearing of goods.
On clearing of goods, they have a way they systematically increase all this fuel. It's just systematically. If you have been a victim of these people at the wharf, you will know they will tell you how many tickets they pay before they can get their goods out of the wharf. So in anything we are doing, we should look at the implication at the larger society. So if we are bringing 77% increase, what is it going to happen to the small market? Definitely, if you want to change a little thing from your car today, you should expect double amount of money you have been paying before. So these are things that, and that still back, it's still boiled down to issue of petrol, because they could not get enough money from petroleum resources. They have to look for alternative way where to generate income to the Nigeria economy.
Okay, just before we move away from the Punch newspaper, let's take one more story, and that's on the Kaduna train abductions. And right now we're seeing that negotiations are deadlocked as the federal government are seeking assistance from, foreign assistance. There seems to be no end in sight. Well, recently, the pregnant lady who, delivered in, the abductors camp was released, but we still have a lot more abductees, still stuck there, and they all have hopes, but right now we're seeing that even the federal government cannot do there's only so much that they can actually do about, securing their release, and they're seeking foreign assistance.
We are just playing to gallery. That's the truth. It's not those people that were inside that train that still remain in the custody of bandits today. No. We still have a lot of people. A lot of people are still in the custody of these people. So I don't know which foreign intervention they are looking for, because from what I heard, I discovered that they are looking towards China to come and help them. I don't know what China will come and do. Maybe they will release their police or their military apparatus, or I don't know what they will do for us, or their fire jet, I don't know. Which I believe that it's not going to be easy like that. So to me, we're just playing to gallery. Because we have our men that are well trained here. Only that there's a lot of sabotage. There's a lot of leakages of information. That's the truth. That's what is happening. Not like our men cannot do this job. I was in Kaduna when they shut down all the old networks for 3 months. So I know the information I got on ground during that period. So not like they can't do it. They can. But there is a lot of sabotage. So bring any foreign missionaries, invite any foreigners. It has happened before. They came, South African missionary came during Jonathan. So they did the one they can do. They left. In terms of Boko Haram. We're just playing together. When we're serious as a nation, we know what to do.
Moving on, we take a look at the Nation newspaper, where the headline story says Atiku, Wike, Saraki, others battle for 3,700 PDP delegates. It's getting interesting. I don't know what are your thoughts about this issue, because it appears that, of course, last week the PDP had finally put to rest the zoning debate, and is opening up the ticket for everybody's grab. What do you make of this politicking within the PDP?
It's a nice, interesting story, but what they just did is that they just shot themselves at the right leg. Because when you abandon one of your key values that make people respect you and believe in you, which is zoning formula, zoning arrangement, you are beginning to lose it. And that thing has crept into their state. Now, I can hear in the news this morning when someone in one state is saying, no, nothing like zoning, I'm contesting as well. And it was not like that before, especially in all the southeastern state and southern state. They zone their governorship on senatorial zoning. If you are from this senatorial this time, you spend your time. It's already know that this another senatorial is taking place. Now they begin to say, no, anybody can contest. That is what the impact of what they did at the federal level will do to them. So that as it may be, they have done their own, open it. I believe they are trying to play a game too, a wise game. That, okay, if we tell the opponent that we open this ticket, they may not be able to capture who and who that will win our presidential ticket. Well, good for them. Let's see how it goes.
If you're just tuning in, you're still watching Daybreak on Trust TV. And it's still the newspaper review. We still have our guest, public affairs analyst, Lanre Oluwani, in the studio with us. And right now, just before we go ahead with Mr. Lanre, we would be linking up with our Daily Trust correspondent in Niger State, Abubakar Akoti. He's on phone to give us more details on the attacks on communities in Niger State by terrorists. Good morning, Mr. Akoti. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. It's a pleasure joining you.
All right, so we've heard that some of these communities have been completely overtaken and overrun by terrorists. Can you give us an update on, the current situation?
The security situation, especially in Munya local government and part of Shuru, seem to be getting out of hand on a daily basis, as more and more communities have been sacked. Most of them now running down to the state capital to rent houses. Some of them staying with their relations and for any uncompleted building found around the state capital. The reason why some of them are trooping to state capital now, based on their narrations, that the IDP camps in Guada, Zumba, that are very close to their local government, where most of them have taken shelter, have been pop-up. So they found it difficult to get there. And when new IDPs get to IDP camps, it takes time before they are able to find a place to keep their belongings. So some of them now prefer moving down to the state capital to find any uncompleted building or talk to their relations to get the uncompleted building where they stay. Yesterday's attack, three persons, locals, were confirmed killed by bandits, while two of the bandits were also in the process killed. The circumstances behind the killings were, according to eyewitness account, the driver was on top speed on Serikin Power Mineral Road, where the bandits were operating, and unknowingly he ran into them, lost control and ran into two of them on the middle of the road, and then the rest opened fire on the occupants of the vehicle, and then the driver and two other occupants were reportedly killed. But police later told us that they trailed the bandits and they were able to neutralize a number of them. and the cattle, the rosu around Mutun there and Gunu yesterday were also recovered, according to Niger State Police Commander, spokesperson.
Walker, these killings, as you said, are escalating, and of concern is that they are like coming closer to the state capital, Mina. How are the residents in Mina reacting to this increasing encroaching of the terrorists into the state capital? Is there some fear? Are there concerns, or are people relocating, things like that?
People are not relocating for state capital, but many residents in the state capital agree to that fear. Because even yesterday's attack, there were a lot of reactions. People are saying that the state capital is no longer safe because the Mutun there, and Gunu, where the attacks took place, a bike would just take you like 10 minutes drive. If you are even in a car, it won't take up to 10 minutes to get to Gunu and Mutun there. So a lot of reaction, tension, people are now in fear. These people are moving closer to Mina. And according to residents, what they told, we learned from the narration is that these guys now, their target now is Gwada. But the reason why they have not been able to invade Gwada now is that they have not found any escaping routes. If they should attack Gwada, where would they, which route would they escape? So, but with the attack now coming closer to state capital now, because yesterday's attack, it was around Gwada town where we have many IDPs now staying. So there's a lot of tension in Mina now among residents with the way they are now moving closer to the state capital, operating freely. It takes time before security operatives respond to some of the attacks.
Okay. Now, you talked about some of these terrorists, being neutralized. Now, in your opinion, do you think that government is actually doing enough, as per rescue efforts to, protect citizens and also take them back to the communities? Because some of these communities you mentioned, were overrun, and the army actually, took the communities back, and now we're seeing that the bandits have taken over these communities again.
Even from the account from some of these security personnel who have had an encounter with these bandits on several occasions and then narrowly escaped, we always tell you that government is not doing much to rescue, because sometimes some of these personnel will tell you that they don't send quite a number of them to go and confront terrorists that are in large number. And eventually, when it becomes hot, they don't get reinforcement. Because even recently, some of them complain of the lack of reinforcement. And as you see a situation recently, one of them complained that the police and the civil defense who were sent to confront these criminals were conveyed in Sharon bus. And there was not even a serious vehicle to convey them. They were conveyed in Sharon bus to confront the bandits that are with their more sophisticated weapons. Then even before that, some of them even alert from vehicle, damage might have been done, because Sharon I don't think is the right vehicle to be given to security agencies who are going to confront enemies.
Abubakar, I know that you have reported a lot about the IDP situation in Mina. So with more people trooping into the state capital, how is it looking like now regarding the condition of the internally displaced persons? Is the government doing anything? Are people still roaming about and all that?
They are, of course, as I speak with now, most of the local miners now in Mina here are IDP women and children. They are now, because most of them now, once you even approach them, you will see most of them are frustrated. They complain that they have enough food at home, but they will not go back to take their food. Now they are now doing, some of them say they are not even used to this artisanal mining with their tradition. They don't even know how to do it. So at the end of the day, the buyers now they eventually even exploit them because they don't know the value of their mining and all that. And another fear the residents are also expressing is that with them now trooping to state capital without anything reasonable to do to survive is another threat to the security threat to the state capital. because one way or the other, some of them are found engaging in other illicit things to survive. So it's something that has become a source of concern. On a daily basis, you see them roaming the streets, going to mining sites, and they are recently they have a serious crisis with a vigilante who said they were sent to stop people from illegal mining, and it was a serious problem because despite their complaint to vigilante said they were enforcing government order. And even the state commander of vigilante said he will not go back as far as government order was concerned. He was going to enforce it, and these people complain of lack of food. So it's something that eventually government doesn't take proactive measures to another face-off between the IDPs and even personnel of the state vigilante.
Okay, now just before we wrap up, Abubakar, do we have an exact number of communities that have been overtaken by these terrorists?
In Munya now, by estimation, because even the state, Niger State emergency management agencies, the community keep on increasing on a daily basis as more as these bandits sustain their attacks. But we have dozens of communities in Munya, dozens in Shiroro local government and Paikoro, because each time they attack Munya and Shiroro, they also extend to part of Paikoro local government. So more than some communities there are also affected, and they have left. Some of them now staying in Paikoro, some of them moving down to Shiroro side. They are considered safe to stay with their relations. And Motundia that was attacked yesterday, their secondary school also served as a temporary IDP camp where most of them, even though some of them have not been provided for a long time by government, they have found it comfortable to stay there now. Yesterday's attack has now dislodged the IDPs there now, who would again move down to Mia.
Okay, thank you very much, Abubakar, for these updates. And that's been Daily Trust correspondent in Minna, the Niger State capital, Abubakar Akote.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Larry, you have had these updates from Niger State. How do you feel? What is your thoughts on this very, I'm sure, debilitating security situation?
Anytime I'm on program and I have opportunity to talk about security issue, I'm always feel bad because the level we find ourselves today, we're not supposed to be there in terms of insecurity. Now, this is not banditry now. This is terrorism attack. Terrorism attack, they made us understand that it's only reside in the northeastern part of Nigeria. Now, this is Niger State, not far from even the Federal Capital Territory of Nigeria. So, I can only appeal to the people in power that they should do what they can do as a matter of urgency. We begin to have a series of IDPs across our land. Across our land. In Nasarawa, in Katsina, in Zamfara, in Borno, IDPs. Even up to Niger Republic. So please, I just appeal to them. Let us look for a lasting solution. I've provided a lot of solution on this, on security issue, but I discovered that we seem not to move forward. This is pathetic.
Okay. All right, and I think with that, we have come to the end of the newspaper review for today. Thank you so much, Public Affairs Analyst Lanre Oluwani, for joining us on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
But in a situation where you find that a person look like the same,
not necessarily tribal or regional.
I have said that